Hi, the 20 zones are rearing their ugly head again, and I don't know why, but all the police are pushing this. But 20 zones. This is a quick video. I'm just sort of like, obviously I'm frustrated because I've been arguing about this for years, and there's nothing really new about it for me. You know, it's all the same old stuff, and I get accused of the same things, and I get the same comments from, you know, people come along and they try to ridicule me and stuff like that, and they never seem to win an argument. They just sort of either disappear, get really abusive, or they don't seem to ever. So there's quite a lot of disbelief out there. I think some of the people that are arguing me right now, if you want, or debating it, if you put it that way, maybe not. They're not that unreasonable. I just find it frustrating. They just cannot accept that their government would lie to them. I think that's what it is. They've been trained, brought up like I have, brought up to believe in the truth, and that the police wouldn't lie to you. I think that's what it is. I think they just can't believe it, and so they'd rather chuck me under the bus. It's easier than chucking the police Scotland under the bus. I think that's probably it. Yeah. So let's have a look. Well, a quick look. I mean, because this could go on for years. This, you know, looking at this, but it is to raise awareness that the government is deceiving us. The Scottish government is deceiving us in 20 zones, and so are Police Scotland. By all means, have respect for the police force, respect for police officers, but this is corruption. There's no other two ways about it. And if you work for a police force, you're part of that corruption. So that's a fact, right? So we'll have a quick look again, yet again. What happened in I've got so many pages open, haven't I? It's important to read that. I'll read this out again, right? It's important. This is important because this is fundamentally, this is important. So, the 20 miles per hour bill fell in the Scottish Parliament 2009. So I typed that into the AI, Gemini, right? So this is AI, artificial intelligence. So the likes of this is very useful for certain things. It's not useful for everything, but for this it is. So this comes out with facts. So this is giving me facts here. These there are indisputable. This is what's happened, right? So you can't really. This isn't really opinion. This is fact. So the restricted roads 20 miles per hour speed limit Scotland bill, which was a member's bill introduced by Mark Ruskell MSP, did indeed fall in the Scottish Parliament. The bill was debated and voted on at stage 1 on June the 13th, 2019. The motion to agree to the general principles of the bill was defeated with 26 votes in favour and 83 against. As a result, the bill fell and did not proceed to become an Act of Parliament. The main reason for the bill's failure was that a majority of MSPs and the Parliamentary Committee that had scrutinised it felt that a one-size-fits-all approach to reducing speed limits to 20 miles per hour was not appropriate. They argued that local authorities should retain the flexibility to decide where and how to implement lower speed limits based on the specific need of their areas. So Scottish Parliament TV recording of the 20 miles per hour bill debate shows the full parliamentary discussion of voting the bill, right? So you can watch it. You know, you can watch it. That's the bill falling in 2019, right? So there's been no bill since 2019 in the Scottish Parliament. So we have 20 zones. So there's a sort of ad hoc. What is it? So they've just sort of done. My question is, what's the point of having a Scottish Parliament if they can ask important questions like that and then come to a conclusion and then carry on and do it anyway. And how does that affect us? And how does that affect law and order? How does that affect our way of life when the Scottish Parliament can go ahead? This is what's happened here is they've just gone ahead anyway. Let's go ahead and do it anyway. Of course, they haven't done it. So there's two ways of looking at this. If I don't support 20 zones because they're more dangerous, they cause pollution, they are an interference in our freedom, they're a complete waste of time. Now, if I wanted 20 zones and I thought the opposite, I would still be sitting here making this video because I would be saying, this is not a real speed limit. Why have you not made it a real speed limit instead of a fake speed limit? So there's two ways of looking at this. You could actually argue against this if you want 20 zones. Speed limits, not zones, speed limits. So they're letting everybody down, really, because they're corrupting democracy. That's what they're doing. Democracy is being corrupted. So there's people that voted against that, and now we're getting them anyway, or they're doing it some other sneaky way. Stop calling them, well, they aren't calling them, well, they are, Police Scotland are calling them speed limits, yeah. So here, Police Scotland, Forth Valley. So, over the course of the past month, you've got to read what they're saying, and don't just read it quickly, read it 2 or 3 times. Over the course of the past month, in response to complaints from members of the public regarding speeding, the Bowness and Braes community policing teams have conducted speed detection patrols in both aforementioned areas. Over the course of this period, 9 motorists were charged with speeding offences and a further 2 for having no insurance. PCs Comley and Boyle requested drivers adhere to the speed limits in both areas, and in particular the 20 miles per hour speed limits in both Bowness and the Braes Village. So PC, Conley and Boyle, I would ask them, why have you committed perjury? You know, your oath is to serve the public. That you are committing a fraud. These 2 are fraudulent. That's a fraud. So if you read that there, that's fine, right? So they've got 9, was it? 9 were charged with speeding offences, and then they go on to mention 20. So the speeding offences are speeding offences. They're probably doing 37 or 47 or 43 or 50 or whatever in a 30. The 20 miles for surveillance, there's no such thing as speed limits. So it all depends on the wording. So this is either fake advertising or it's fake. It's fake news, certainly. There are 20 miles per speed zones, but, well, you know, why I think, well, see, people don't seem to understand why I'm so bothered about this. It's about democracy, but also I know 20 zones are stupid, right? It's about that as well. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't feel so strongly about it. I know that they're a stupid waste of time, right? So I put information out there, and I get stupid comments. This guy Stuart, he's given it clever. This is a good comment from Stuart Johnston. It's the local council wombles that decide the speed limit changes. No wonder it's a mess. Most councils struggle to run a bath. So this guy here, Tuppinsworth, National Speed Limit Reduction Strategy. So he's pushing this bullshit. From 30 to 20 rollout is going live from this month. Aberdeen starts on the 22nd of September. So presumably there's been another Act of Parliament passed. This guy thinks there's another Act of Parliament. There hasn't been. He just assumes there has been. Presumably, in order for local authorities to reinstate these limits that were a failure during COVID. I don't know what he keeps. Somebody else has been going on about COVID. I don't know what that's for. I don't understand that. I mean, the bill fell in 2019. COVID happened in 2020. I don't really get the connection. You know, maybe I'm missing something here. I think it's quite irrelevant anyway. So I've told them the bill fell. So some of them think it's funny, as usual, right? So I don't think it's funny. I don't think twisting democracy is funny, Ewan Hill, right? You fanny, right? So this say Bill a few more times maybe helps, says this Colin Zandbergen. So I says, why did you send that comment? What purpose does it have? Just didn't think you said Bill enough in your post. Well, you're just being an arsehole. You know what? Fuck you, Colin Zandbergen. Fuck off, right? You think it's funny? Fuck off back to where the Zandbergens come from, right? I don't normally block people, but I think it's stupid, right? I'm trying to raise awareness, and you're just being a fucking clown, right? Fuck off, right? Zero contribution to this, right? Think it's so fucking funny. This is a serious matter. It's not funny. You know, it's actually annoying, yeah. Councils all over Scotland have introduced 20 miles per hour zones, yeah. They are not speed limits. Anyone can put a sign up. See, I've been doing this for years, this argument, about 3 or 4 years, 5 years maybe. Nobody's but there was one time I recall that lasted like 5 days or something with these educated people from university arguing with me, and they actually landed up falsifying documents to try and beat me in the end, and then they just sort of fizzled out because there's no legislation for 20 zones. There isn't, right? So all these NIMBYs, most of them, going on about this. Billy Wilson. Unfortunately, the nutcase behind the wheel hasn't kept up with advances. The car is only as capable as the person behind the wheel. So this Harry Thompson, 9 people have been charged with speeding. Hardly a fail. Well, he hasn't read it properly. So I says, look, so I put all that. I says to him, try reading the text and understanding it before commenting. You know, it's like, it is a fail because it's not 20 zones, right? Harry Thompson, right? Zandbergen, where the fuck's that? Some fucking Norwegian twat, yeah. Oh, it's got a push bike. Oh, right, okay, that explains it. Right, so the deception is real, people, right? Example is stupidity. Scott Allen, just build speed bumps. They work 24/7. So I said damages, buildings and vehicles are unlawful. I should be able to drive unhindered at 30 miles per hour. The cost of the economy is increasing. Scotland is plunging into more and more debt. He thinks that's funny. Scott Allen, he thinks that's funny. What a freaking clown. How's that funny? How is it? So the damage to the buildings is trucks thumping down off speed humps, right? And the damage to cars is obvious. Jesus. What the hell? Jesus Christ. It just looks weird. Yeah. So it's funny, aye. So the economy going down the drain's funny, Scott, eh? Great. So this guy, Alan Scott, he's a community councillor and he hasn't done any research on this at all. So basically this is Police Scotland, Scottish Borders. So they're pushing this nonsense as well. We already did a video about this yesterday. I mean, look at that road. I mean, what's this here? There's a pavement there. There's no street lights. Is that really a 20 zone? Oh no, a 30 zone even. I don't know. That looks really suspicious. It looks like that. That's not a 20. Well, we know it's not a 20 speed limit because there's no such thing. Anyway, Alan Scott, he's changed his tune a bit. Well, maybe this is an example of sometimes maybe I am spreading awareness of what's happening, but we'll have to keep it sort of civil because you're a community councillor. But so what he said to me is, I mean, I won't go over the whole thing because we already did a video about this yesterday. But what he said to me is, no, but you could explain which legislation you believe fell in 2019, making the limits illegal. However, in answer to your question, the order promoting these 20 limits was done so under the Road Traffic Regulations Act 1984. That's false information, it wasn't. Which I believe to be a valid state of law unless you know differently. That's not what they were done under because the bill fell in 2019. They were done under a TTRO, temporary traffic restriction order, or a traffic restriction order is what they're done under, not a Road Traffic Regulations Act. They are not a speed limit, Alan. Right? So I I said to Alan, I'm going to assume that you asked the council to do this. Perhaps you are unaware that 30 miles per hour roads reduced to 20 cause 67% more deaths and serious injuries. When 30 miles per hour roads are reduced to 20, not only that, the costs are 0.88 pence per kilometre per journey. That's additional costs. So it doesn't take long for costs of millions of pounds to accrue, while more people will die. Regardless of how the limit was imposed, it is a danger to the public. And now you definitely know that. So I've told them, right? Firstly, I didn't ask the council anything. The info, the order, is publicly available. If you search the link below. Secondly, have you any evidence backing up your claims, accident statistics and costs, or at least tell me where I can view them for myself? So he's not been unreasonable. I'll give him his due. He's not been unreasonable. We're getting on all right. So Alan, as it happens, I can point you direct to research. The University of Warwick and University of Belfast, readily available on the internet, but not for councils apparently. The costs are based on the average wage of a commercial driver. Cost is 50.8 pence per minute for the driver, leading to a total cost of 84 pence per mile. The increase is 33 pence per mile. So I think in this case I might have spread some awareness towards Alan. I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not. Or maybe he's just going to go quiet about it. He hasn't answered. That was 3 hours ago. People, they just don't give a shite. A lot of them don't give a shite. Maybe that's the way to be. We're talking about our democracy here, so I give a shite about that. We're talking about corruption. We're talking about the highest echelons of Scottish society behaving in a corrupt manner. That's what we're talking about. That's the political and the judicial and the Lord Advocate for pushing this nonsense. And Police Scotland, and they're pushing it extra. They're lying, they're deceiving us. That is important. That the police should not be deceiving us in Scotland, in modern Scotland. That I'm not even going to get into the ins and outs of 20 zones and what's wrong with them. It's obvious that they're a stupid idea right from the very start. And it's also obvious that we've got the highest deaths in Europe, a certain substance problem, and that we have major problems, and we've got major problems, financial problems. We are massively in debt, and yet they still keep pushing this WEF-inspired nonsense. So I think we'll leave it at that, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Get you in the next video.